Hey everyone, it's Crazy Crow and I'm back in the frac shack. Although today it's not going to be a frac shack, this is going to be a polishing pad. This is just something I've been playing around with. It's a little pour. I've been asked to do a video by my sister of how I polish my resin, which many of you may know, but for those who don't, this just needs literally just the key taken off it. There's a few little imperfections on it, that dust landed on it when it was setting. Usual story. Again, I think the pieces that she was talking about are slightly smaller than these. We're talking more jewellery pieces, much smaller scale. However, the process is pretty much the same, whether you're talking food safe resins, tabletop resins, or jewellery grade resins. The polishing process is still very much the same. Although they may have smaller equipment to use it on. Like I say, mine's pretty industrial when you start doing tables and things as such. So most of my kit is for the bigger stuff. So again, most of what you'll see can be scaled down and the appropriate stuff bought for the appropriate size pieces, if you know what I mean. However, like I say, the process is exactly the same. So without further ado, let's get started with the resins. Depending on how bad the blemishes are or the imperfections are, you can polish it and sand it pretty much just like wood. It reacts very much the same, although you have to polish it, or sorry, sand it wet. So any sanding work you do on the resin has to be wet. You get much better results that way. You get far less scarring on it. So again, you can go as far back as you need to, depending on how far back you have to take the piece. But again, most of jewelry stuff I would think would just be kind of taken off the key and then polished it back to perfect. So for today's purpose, or for the video purpose, I'm going to start at kind of a 1200 grit, which again, if you rub your fingers over it, it's very smooth. But if you can, like I say, I like to use a pad with the flatter stuff or the bigger stuff, because then you keep a nice flat surface. However, so like I say, for today's vid, I'm literally just going to take it back to a 1200 grit, because it doesn't need to go that bad. In fact, I probably wouldn't have taken it back that far if it weren't for the purpose of the video. So like I say, using it wet, let's put a little bit of water on. We don't want it too much. I'm just going to start over one side, so you can hopefully then see the finish between it. Like I say, between a piece finished and a piece not, and sanded. So let's go. See, try and sand as evenly as possible. Like I say, I don't normally do this by hand on a piece this size. I would normally use my orbital sander, or my random orbital sander. But again, you will, when you're sanding, you will feel resistance on the pad. That's fine, that's normal, it just means it's doing its job. But try not to let it dry out. It doesn't do many favours when it's completely dry, and again, it tends to scar a lot easier. So you won't be able to polish it to perfect. You'll still see little imperfections and blemishes on it afterwards, once you get up to your final grits. So when you are polishing, make sure you keep it moist. It doesn't have to be soaking wet, so you're soaking everything everywhere. Although it can be quite fun when you're doing the bigger pieces. I generally wear an apron so as not to completely cake myself, or me mid-region with resin residue, or resin dew, as it were. Right, let's see. Going down through it now, you can see. So yeah, to take the wet off, you can see what kind of an older cloth for this, because we can keep them for wiping off the good afterward. So there, you can see, after going down a grit, that finish is completely different. You can see it's taken that beautiful sheen off of it. It's gone back just nicely to a very smooth kind of dulled colours. You say it's all still there and showing through, but it's just lost its beauty. Like I say, let's keep going slightly with this side. And what you want to do, you want to keep sanding until all the scars of the previous grit have gone. It's quite hard to see. You have to probably move your head and wiggle your head around like a lunatic to get the right angles, depending on your light. Light in my workshop is not always the best for certain things. So like I say, you will just gently, as little pressure as you can, when you come to the sanding. Bring some of that. know if you can see on the camera there, there's not much scarring left once it's dried properly. See, I mean, this isn't going to be a finished piece, but what I'm hoping to do is just run a demonstration through, so when it may not be immaculate all the way across and perfectly smooth, this isn't finished yet. I will be putting another coat of clear resin over this before finishing the edges. So anyway, moving up from a 1200, we will then go up to the next up. Don't jump your grits too early. Again, once you get into the next grit, you'll see why. And hopefully it won't happen now. But when you start sanding the next grit up, the scars with the previous then become apparent. Sometimes if you think it's necessary, just go back down to the next grit. It's not always necessary, and depends on how much pressure you put. To be perfectly honest, these aren't the very best ones for polishing resin. Preferably you want to hold this like this without too many holes in it, because again, some of the holes, if they're not perfect or if they're not great pads, you can see where these are cut. They'll sometimes just scratch the surface, leaving you again nasty scars that you'll have to go right the way back to get out. This is experience, painful experience. However, you can say when it comes to polishing, it's just gentle. It is literally, it's more of a polish than a sand. See, what I might do is I might leave this patch here so you can see, and hopefully it will give it kind of a three stage point at the end. You can see when it's wet, you can see what it will look like when it's completely polished. Again, when you dry it after that, you end up with the dulling coming back, like the frosted look. Excess again, and again, every now and then just give it a wipe to remove the resin that's on there, because again, you will feel it building up underneath your pad after certain points. Yeah, right, let us move up. But we're now up to a 2000 grit. Once you put the water back on, you can see that's what it will look like once you've achieved your final finish. I always like to sand in circular motions. I find you don't get any kind of travel patterns on your sanding points. Again, generally I wouldn't sand in just one patch like this. It would be a much more even circular motion across all of it. But again, I don't think that will be something you'll be getting into if you're doing the jewellery designs or the jewellery pieces, kind of the small cabs, rings, anything else that comes with it. I'm not amazingly up to date with the jewellery world, however, like I say, doing the smaller pieces, you probably won't need to worry about sanding bigger areas evenly. However, say the process is still very much the same. Gentle polish with the sandpaper rather than any kind of pressure or pushing or digging in with the paper or pad. can see now where I've just done this one corner that it is already less frosted than this. Again, I should probably be going a lot longer with each pad, but to be honest, I'm hoping just to finish this one spot, just to give you kind of a quick run through. As we speak, I've got boards outside that have been bleached up drying. They're going to be charcuterie boards, so I've just got all the staining out of those from all the Frac-it work, so they're outside drying now. So hopefully when this is done, or at least this video for this section is done, because like I say, I've still got plenty more to do to this. So polishing it now, to be honest, is irrelevant. It really is. Like I say, I'm going to be doing more to it afterwards, so I will have to sand and polish this one again completely. Okay, let's do the video's sake. There you go. Let me pad off. Move up to the 3000 grit. I've removed a few of the dents from it. But again, this will be being done much more evenly. Get up to your final grit, that's when you should. Once you've dried it, you still will see a smoking on that, because that's not the last of it. But when you get to your final grit of your sandpaper, there shouldn't really be too much resistance on there, because if I had done the whole lot, you'd feel the pad kind of gliding over it very smoothly. Like I say, as you move up through the grits, you can feel the difference, and once you're doing it yourself, you will know and be able to feel the difference. After a couple of kind of attempts and feels of it, you really will pick up the feel for it. If you're crafty anyway, it's nothing that can't be learned with a little practice, same as most things. The colours in this are absolutely beautiful. I don't know if my head's going to be in the way, isn't it, for most of this, I should imagine. I have this habit of getting my head right close so I can see everything as I'm working, as I'm doing it. Not always a good habit when you're videoing from above. So I'm hoping you haven't got too much of my grey hair in this video. And like I say, this top corner should be coming somewhere near back. Much less frosted than the rest now. Let's just wipe it off and test my theory, shall we? Like I say, it's still smoky, but you can see where I've done this corner, the blues are starting to shine through nicely again. And you can certainly see the sparkle in it, whereas down here, these blues and these greens, they've still got the same amount of shimmer in. They're just nowhere near. So you can see the process working and coming through ever so nicely. That area there is lovely and smooth. I didn't have a lot more to do to that. However, like I say, still got plenty to do to this one yet. Hopefully you'll see this one again when I get playtime. But again, like I said, you can see the visible difference between what it started like, what it was after kind of a 2000 grit, and then what it's like after a 3000 grit, with what you can tell is just a small polish. Obviously you want to spend a bit more time on each section or each piece than what I have with each grit, just to achieve that immaculate finish. There's no way this short process would happen on a piece that's going out immediately. So yeah, guys, take your time. It isn't a quick process at all. I'm only speeding things up like this for the purpose of the video, and hopefully to give you guys an insight as to how I do it. But like I say, when you've got your 3000 compound, you then want to step up. You want to step up onto kind of a polishing sponge or a polishing pad. Like I say, all of my kit is built for the bigger equipment, so it's not really meant to be used by hand. However, if I put the hand sander on, you're not going to hear anything. And again, when it comes to this stage, bigger stuff, I always like to use kind of car polishing compounds, because again, they have to be smooth, they have a cut and paste, and you have to be a little more gentle, again, like I said, when you're using the power tools with this sort of stuff, because it can leave scars and marks. But like I say, I like to use kind of the finest compounds you can get for car polishing. After that, depending on how glossy I'd like to finish, I use a glass polish, and after that I use my own formula, which is kind of an amalgamation. It's called Blimey. It's an amalgamation of natural waxes and oils, something I formulate myself. There will be a bite in the future, but at the moment I make it as I need it. But again, that will be the final stages, which will put the gleam and the shimmer straight back into it afterward. So like I say, with this you want small amounts on your pad or your polishing cloth. A little bit of water again, just the same, and then just gently and evenly buff over. And again, this is coming into the polishing stages, so this one will probably be one of the longest processes, or longest part of the process, because getting it from kind of this to somewhere near this again isn't a short journey. But again, on the smaller pieces with kind of spinning or rotary tools, or if you've got kind of a drum sander that with attachments on, you need just 2 secs. I've got those for the smaller pieces. If I can just find them and show you a couple. They are like smaller polishing wheels that you can put into your drill, or if you've got kind of a bent sander with an attachment on. I've made myself a little one out of my old drill that I've put up and can control the revs on. But these sit into that, and I can polish the smaller pieces of resin up on these. So again, they do smaller equipment, which will make it far easier to eliminate all of the handwork if that proves difficult for any reasons. So yeah, and again, they do those on a smaller scale, so you can probably get them for, say, the what's the thing Gemma's using at the moment, the stylo, the Dremel, is it? So you can get attachments for that, I should imagine. Again, it's not something I've looked into myself, but I can't see there not being a range of polishing tools for it. But again, any little lambswool bonnet, I mean, you could use one that size for the smaller pieces. You just wouldn't have to be quite so accurate either. It would pretty much cover it for that size. See, it no longer sounds like it's scratching, it sounds like it's squeaking over a nice shiny surface. I don't know whether you can hear that up there, but there's a little squeaking from the polishing happening underneath. And let's give that a wipe, get some of the compound and residue off, and we'll see where we're getting to. Again, there you go, already. Now you can see the massive difference between them. Everything's starting to shine and shimmer again. You see, not perfect. I don't know how well you can see that because of my light again. However, you can certainly see the difference and where it's going to end up after the stages have been elongated slightly, you know, taking a little bit more care than what I have for this one, because like I say, this for me is still mid-project. I've got plenty to do to this yet. But again, like I say, the stages become apparent. You see I've dusted over this with some of the kind of 2000 and 3000 up here, so we're coming around in stages. 1200, kind of 2000 grit, 3000 with kind of the harder of the polishing pads. What you do from there, you move up to something like this, which is it's a softer grade sponge, and again, this would do slightly more polishing than what this would, and then from there again you just keep moving up to like the soft, very soft lambswool bonnets, Again, using compounds if you need to, and then when you get to kind of the lamb's wool bonnet stage, literally nothing but kind of a glass cleaner, or the very finest compound you can get. So anyway, waffling on over here, we're not even getting on with the video, are we? Let's get a little bit of moisture onto the pad again. Be very conservative with this. You can always add more, but again, like I say, if you put too much on, you can end up doing more damage and having to go backward. So don't rush it. Don't rush it, just let it happen. And again, like I say, if you heard the squeaking a minute ago, at certain points you can generally tell when you're getting toward those points of finishing that grade or that stage, whichever you're yeah, honestly guys, this is my favorite bit. When you see it and you've put something through the planer, or you've righted the edges off, or even if you've just made a mistake and had to plane something off, and take it back right the way flat, going from that really messy stage where you're almost upset with it sometimes, or disheartened with the way it's turned out, because it happens with resin, it happens. You'll get to a point where you think, yes, that's great, you'll turn your back for 5 minutes, something will have gone just backward, and at that point you start to get disheartened and everything else. But again, this is all part of the learning curve. The more into it you get, the better you get, the more exciting it gets, the easier it gets. So again, don't worry, keep going, just play with it. It really is, it's not impossible to learn or get the techniques. It's great. And there we go, guys. Look, we're nearly there. You can see everything shining nicely. All this matte dull over here, and what the polishing has done. Like I say, this is just quick, so you imagine the standards you can achieve. Literally, you will get a mirror finish, so you could pop a pimple in it if you so desired. But again, let's go one more. Let's just go one more. Lamb's wool for the last process, and then like I say, I'll show you the finish with a bit of oil or a bit of cool blinding. And there we have it. Like I say, you can always go more, always. I'm hoping the light's on that properly. There is a little scarring underneath it. You can see where I've just, well, as you can see, I jumped through the gauge just to kind of show you the whole process very quickly. However, it's already looking nice, literally just for effect. Just for effect. Let's put a little blimey on it. You ready? At the end of this, you're going to say, cool blimey. normally you would let that just do its magic and settle, maybe 10-15 minutes. A little longer generally on wood. However, it's video purposes and I've already kept you long enough, I'm sure. And I'm sure by this point in the video you're gonna just want to go and try yourself. So literally I'm gonna wipe it off pretty much straight away. And there we have it. Literally it is gleaming like the other side was, and you can see the processes all the way through. Like I say, you can see where I've started all the way down here with the very rough grits. I say very rough, for a resin it's very rough, kind of 1200s. Then moved up to the 2000s, 1500s and 2000s, and then stopped on this point, and I've just moved forward onto here, where I went right the way through them kind of sequentially, to achieve this finish here. Like I say, you can see where the process has it. If you take more time than what I did, you can achieve an absolutely immaculate mirror image, which is great fun. Again, I don't think I've got much else here to show you. Whether that will work out or not on that light, that's a very nice one. Literally just needs another coat off the top. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it was useful in some way. It's always nice to do it again, and to be honest, showing people or telling people helps me recap and keep it fresh in my head. It's never a bad thing. Like I say, all I hope is that someone find it useful. Thanks very much. If you want to see more finished products, literally all the way gone up to the other bit, take a look on the website, or Facebook or Instagram. It's Frac-it by the Crazy Crow. By all means, have a look. You can see some of the finishes I achieve on the tables and other things. So yeah, guys, thanks again for watching. If you have, see you again.